Hello everyone and welcome to Kings Talk presented by Caps Crown. This is Tony. With me as always, we've got John. Well, the Kings have played 4 games since the last time we've talked. They've gone 3-1 with one embarrassing defeat against the New Orleans Pelicans, who they play again tonight. Can get a little revenge, quick revenge. John, Kings are 6-1 in their last 7. Won 6 straight. I mean, we got beat down the other night, but I mean, other than that, things are looking good for the Kings. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't chalk too much up to that loss. Road back to back. They look like they kind of ran out of gas there near the end of the second quarter, but kind of adding a third 6 to that. 6-1 in their last 7. They won 6 straight at one point. They have 6 guys to monitor on the injury report right now, which seems to be kind of the big story. I think you got Alex Len, who's probably out for another 5 to 7 weeks. You've got Keon Ellis sprained an ankle. Vezenkov missed Monday's game with a sore thumb. Making matters worse, Keegan Murray did not return for the second half due to a lower back injury, and Duarte had a left hand injury. I'm missing one guy. Oh, Trey Lyles is still out with the calf strain.
Yeah.
So those are 6 guys to monitor, and then you could maybe throw a 7th on there because Herter's got that finger thing, which is probably not 100%, but he's available. But 6 guys on the injury report, which, I mean, right now, the amount of injuries they're dealing with might be the extent of the injuries they dealt with last season.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge that is new, that they've never really faced before. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to linger on because we, at this point as of recording, don't know the extent of Murray's and Duarte's injury. And, you are looking at a situation where once the Kings are done on the road here, they finish up with the game in New Orleans on Wednesday and then Minnesota on Friday. Then they have 3 days off before they play again on Tuesday against the Warriors. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Trey Lyles come back for that Warriors game. He resumed basketball activities basically last week. He's been doing 5-on-5 practices on the road. I mean, it seems like he's kind of on that way to come back.
Yeah.
But a lot of these other guys, you don't know. I mean, Len's out for a certain amount of time. We don't really know the extent of Duarte and Keegan Murray. Keon Ellis with the ankle is probably, a couple of games. Just a sprained ankle was the extent of it. And then I wouldn't even be surprised if Vezenkov plays on Wednesday. And they could really use him, especially if Murray and Duarte can't come in. But, I mean, we talked about the depth of this team a lot coming into the year, which is obviously strong, but it's being tested. It's being put to the test for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how they kind of do this. But I can't help but feel, just based off of the adversity they felt after they lost to Houston, and then they bounced back from that, won 6 straight. And Mike Brown talked a lot about how he's happy they're facing this adversity now. I think the Kings have earned, and I know it's a new problem, and I'm usually not one to be optimistic about this, but this injury thing, having it happen in November, this could be really good for this team to have to go through that adversity, really kind of figure out who they are, who the guys are that can step up. And, as of now, it's hard to say who's exactly injured and for how long. And it's definitely hard to say who could step up. But it's something that could easily turn into a positive, having to face this adversity early.
Yeah, wouldn't you rather face it earlier than later?
Yeah.
It's kind of like we were talking about like a week or two ago with the defense. It's like, well, might as well figure out earlier in the season instead of when it's really going to start to matter. So,
Exactly.
Totally. Any adversity is going to come out stronger on the other end. But it is, very different. Not very different, but it's only been a game, maybe 2, depending on tonight. But the Kings were very fortunate last season. Didn't have to deal with many injuries, and now they're looking at, like you said, quite a few guys that might be out or questionable coming into tonight. So, we'll see how they respond. It was the second of a back-to-back. We went to New Orleans last year. I don't remember when, but I remember we got smacked by them. Mm-hmm. And then we came back, I think, I want to say it wasn't back-to-back games like it is against the Pelicans this year, but we came back, I want to say shortly after, and played the Pelicans again. And then we took care of business pretty good. So Kings are always good at, they're a very resilient team. So I could see that happening tonight too.
Yeah. I think actually now that you mentioned that second game from last year against New Orleans, I think McNair pinpointed I think it was that game where they were really, really good against New Orleans. I think you pinpointed that as one of the best games of the season for the Kings.
Yeah, I want to say they won by like 30.
I think they had a really, really
That's
good all-around performance. I think they limited them inside, and I think they defended fairly well, which you would see from time to time from the team last season. But, I mean, again, that like the thing that makes the loss in New Orleans way different than that loss in Houston a couple weeks ago is the fact that it didn't really feel like they gave up. And I know Mike Brown said after the game that nobody really stepped up and played, you know, the way he'd like to, even in garbage time, which was kind of a positive in that Houston game where guys stepped up like Alex Len and Keon Ellis earned themselves spots in the rotation. But even if nothing of that sort materialized late in the New Orleans game, and if they were playing lousy, it's like they were clearly wiped out. They were so tired. I mean, a loss is never a good thing, but that New Orleans loss was that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean, you can only win so many games in a row. I mean, of course, you want to see them win every game, but I mean, it was it was a massacre out there, so. It wasn't like, we just lost the game. Like, it was bad.
The one thing I would say that's interesting is, and this isn't just a problem for the Kings, this might be a problem for the NBA, but how do you stop Zion Williamson? I mean, you're not going to stop him unless he gets hurt. I mean, it's funny, Mike Brown got asked, like, what would you try to do with Zion, like, differently in the next game? He's like, I don't know, ask him not to play.
Yeah. That guy's crazy. He weighs close to 300, if not. Does he weigh 300 pounds? I mean,
like 280.
He's up there. But sometimes they always like put it lower than they actually are.
Right.
Because like I think they put Shaq at like 270. Like no way that dude weighed 270.
Like 7 something and like that body mass.
Like no, you weighed over 3. And I think he came out later saying he weighed over 3. But he's like, it looks better. It's like KD listing at 6'9". Even though it doesn't mean, he's like, yeah, it's a small forward height, 6'9". Even though it's like doesn't matter. But anyways. I mean, personally, I think the league's been kind of lucky, and the Kings, because, I mean, I think Katie was saying it last night. It was only like the second or third time Zion has played against the Kings since joining the NBA 4 seasons ago. So, I don't know. He hasn't been much of an issue just because he's been on the bench so much in his short career so far. But, yeah, that dude is crazy. He's huge, and he's just super athletic. I mean, we were kind of talking before this, like, who's the best matchup? I mean, Trey Lyles, maybe. Bigger guy, athletic. Maybe. But, I mean, he's not coming back tonight. So, I have no idea. Double him. But, I mean, even Brown said that the double team was too slow on him. He's just so fast.
That was supposed to be the game plan, and he just turns the corner, and all of a sudden the help defense is way too late.
Yeah.
And Harrison Barnes, give him credit, like, tried his best, but it's like, he can't do it on his own. It's tough. I don't know.
Not many people can.
I wonder if the double team in the help defense will improve with a little bit more rest, having that day off.
Or do you just double him earlier?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though. Mike Brown said they wanted to double him on every possession. You know, just keep Keegan Murray. I think he didn't say this, but the assumption is you keep Keegan Murray on Brandon Ingram, and then you just try to double Zion. And they did a lot of traps with him, Barnes and Sabonis tried to come up and help, but there's so many times where he gets a bump and then all of a sudden he uses that physicality and then uses his quickness. It's a really, really incredible combination that, like, watching him, you kind of forget about. Like, honestly, I was like going into the game just being like, yeah, Zion, whatever. He's talented. You're like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
That guy's really good. I forgot. Like, he had a first round pick for a freaking reason.
Yeah.
If he stays healthy. And he's a problem. But you're never going to stop him.
Yeah, it is.
Just slow him down.
It is interesting watching Zion because, again, we don't watch him much, and he's a freak in nature. But some guy I always forget about until we watch him, and we played him the other day, is Luka Doncic. I hate playing against that guy. He is the most annoying guy to play against. It's just like, I don't know. He's just one of those guys that draws every foul. Because, like, I don't know. I just don't get it. Like, why does he get every call? It's like, oh, it's a little bump. It's like, foul. It's just like, how do you guard this?
Yeah. And it's like, you know, you look at some guys in the league, like James Harden in his younger days, or even Ja Morant now, these guys that really do work to get to the free throw line a lot, and they get a lot of calls and whatever. And sometimes it's a little, like, frustrating to watch as a basketball fan, and especially if you're a fan of the opposing team. But it's like, those guys have athleticism that I respect. Yeah. I don't know if there's ever... Now, Doncic hits shots. Like, I'm going to give him credit for that. But sometimes when he's taking these shots and making them go in, I mean, it's easy to say that he's the least graceful superstar perhaps in history.
Mm-hmm.
And the constant bitching
Oh my god.
Constant. It's nonstop. Even when he gets a call, he's like bitching.
Yeah.
Even when the call wasn't even close and he's just clearly trying to sell it. And I think there was a point where Katie Christensen was like, that's clearly a flop. Like, they have that new flopper rule.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah.
And it's like, they're not going to call it on Doncic. I mean, that guy makes his money.
Yeah. He's infuriating to watch. Like, there's guys I hate playing against, like Steph Curry. But it's like, you respect Steph.
Yeah.
Like, Lucas, I don't respect him.
No, it's annoying.
It's like, dude, it's just not fun. It's like, just not a fun game of basketball to watch.
I think it's such an interesting juxtaposition between Luka and Kyrie being on the same team. Because Kyrie's this guy that gets away. He's almost impossible to stay in front of. He's just beautiful to watch in terms of the game of basketball. And then Luka's this clunky.
I was going to say clunky,
off balance, like very unappealing to look at, you know, and watch play and move and all this stuff. And it's just like, these guys are the same tier of player. This should not be the case. Like, at all. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is weird. I always hate playing against them. Every time I'm like, because I mean, we play Dallas, 3 times a year?
Yeah,
2, 3 times? 3, 4? But I'm like, every time. I always forget, and I'm like, fuck. I hate watching this guy.
It's a nightmare.
But look, we got the win. That was an interesting game too. So I'm like, whoa, this game's gonna go down to the wire as a shootout. And
Yeah.
just like, and I remember just like was looking down, like I looked back up, I'm like, we're up by like 20.
Yeah, the separation of that game was weird.
It was weird. I'm like, okay.
It was like the third and fourth quarter were pretty good. And you know who played really well in that game in the second half?
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Barnes.
Harry Bucket.
Who I just want to... He had those 5 games that we mentioned last week. And since then, he's been fine. He's had a few moments, like... I think it was in... It might have been in the Laker game, where there was like a loose ball and Mike Brown called timeout, got pissed because nobody got on the floor. It kind of seemed like Barnes was the primary candidate to do it. There's been a couple other moments where Barnes doesn't look all that great, where he looks hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
But in all, he's providing for the most part what we want. And his 3-point shot has actually been steady all year.
Yeah.
Aside from those 5 games. I don't know. Barnes, pretty solid. I mean, outside of that New Orleans loss, the Kings, I mean, if they'd won in New Orleans, even if they had the injuries, I feel like the first thing we'd be talking about is like, man, they are one of the top teams in the West.
Yeah.
They really feel like it. They're with Fox back. Fox and Sabonis are playing like MVPs, which we can talk about in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
They're defending at a high level, or at least an improved level, far more slated for the middle of the league to just above that. And yeah, you're just seeing guys hit their stride. And it just reminds you, it's like, yeah, this team's really freaking good.
They are really good.
They're extremely good and well coached. And I guess, again, it just comes down with these injuries. It'd be interesting to see what the depth can do.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of Wednesday against Zion, I don't know. I mean, if Murray and Duarte can't... I mean, not like Duarte's really... Murray and Duarte seem more geared to guard Ingram, but...
Yeah, because you need a big body on Zion.
Yeah, it's
or you're
just
going
like...
to get bullied.
It's hard to imagine who you can throw out there and get Zion. I mean, you're probably going to... You might... Especially if there's a guy that's injured, you might see Jalen Slauson out there.
Mm-hmm.
But how much are we hoping from Jalen Slauson? The most... Like, if he goes through there and just makes him work... Like, which is all you have to do. Like, that's enough. But, like, Jalen Slauson and the other aspects of the game, he's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
And I always harken back to what Mike Brown said in preseason. When Tony Harvey, out of nowhere, but, you know, got to respect Tony Harvey for bringing up different topics, was just like, at one point, they were like, he was like, yeah, what about Jalen Slauson? You know, he looks pretty good. And Mike Brown's like, yeah, he'd be playing mostly in the G League this year. And he's finally starting to learn what it takes to be an NBA role player. He's got a ways to go, but he might be able to do it. Which was just like,
yeah,
I don't think he likes him. And then that video from practice where Mike Brown told Monk, you know, he's going to lose his top, you know, do that again. Yeah. He's also yelling at Jalen Slauson. At the end of the video, he goes, Jalen, you just missed a shot. What are you going to do? Because he's now, his scrimmage team is on defense now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. The perception I get of Slauson through what I get from Mike Brown is that, you know, I mean, like, we saw Kobe Jones come back to earth this regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Who's really not replicated what he did in the preseason, which is honestly understandable. We were talking about him exceeding expectations. He's now on par with what we kind of expect, kind of working his way into things. But it's like, you're not going to expect something. Slauson's a second-round pick from Furman.
From Furman.
I mean, like, Southern Conference.
Never even heard of it.
And I didn't even know a Southern Conference existed. Like, Defensive Player of the Year in the SoCon. What the hell's a SoCon? Why are you calling it that? Why do we have nicknames for something that we don't even know?
The SoCon. Yeah, Jalen's awesome, man. You turn that W upside down, he can play Slamson.
Hey, man, he's got a job in the league.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what they do there, but yeah, you'd really like to have Lyles back. I mean, it's not like Lyles would stop Zion. I don't even know if Lyles would be much better than Barnes at defending him, but it's about having that other body in the mix, because it's like outside of Barnes, who's going to guard him? You know, I think they tried to do a 2-big lineup at one point. It didn't last very long. I think they had JaVale on him. But JaVale, I don't know. You don't really want to put Sabonis on him. I don't know. It's like, who guards Zion?
Do you try, and this might be a stretch, but do you just try, honestly, tell me if they tried this the other night. Once the score went down big, I didn't pay much attention. But do you put Davion on the perimeter and just, I guess, hope for offensive fouls at that point? Just try to keep him in front of him? Because, I mean, John's going to try to bully you, but you try to bully a guy 100 pounds less than you, probably get called for a couple charges.
Maybe. I mean,
and just keep the pressure on the perimeter.
So have Davion guard him 1-on-1 with help, or Davion's the helper?
Davion with help.
Maybe.
I mean, that's a big
I feel like there was a point where Davion switched onto him and Zion just bumped him. And it was like, you don't see Davion get pushed off very much at all because he's so strong with his chest. But it's just like, it didn't look good. I think it was just one play where it happened. I mean, it's worth a shot. You got to throw the kitchen sink at that guy.
Yeah, you really have to.
And it's just like,
what else is there?
The only thing that you can hope for is like maybe the Pelicans decide to give him a rest day. Because they were saying on the broadcast, like, yeah, the reason the Timberwolves got such an easy go against the New Orleans Pelicans is because they rested Zion.
Yeah,
and it's like, do that for... I could just see the Kings going, can't you just rest him, please? I want to go against this guy. Yeah. It's not like freaking Barry Bonds where you can just intentionally walk him.
Dude. I don't even know what to do. Dude's crazy.
He's almost unguardable. I can't even think of an NBA player in the league that could take him one-on-one.
No, but it does remind me of like Giannis. Like, every time we play, because we only play the Bucks twice a year, and every time it's just like, oh my god. Yeah, like, how do you stop this guy?
You can't. You just can't.
like it's like LeBron's a great player and all, but he's maybe not the scorer he once was, but he was, I don't know. But watching like the pure scorers, and I don't even say Giannis is a pure scorer, but even playing against like KD back in his heyday and stuff, it's like, even KD now, but it's like, how do you stop this guy? And Giannis, he just gets to the rim so easily.
Yeah, Giannis is probably the most dynamic player in the league.
Yeah, but the same with Zion. It's just like, how do you stop this?
It's hard to. It's like,
he's just so strong. And there was no one with his body type.
No.
And athleticism.
Mix, that is just
crazy.
It's insane. His athleticism is almost better than his strength.
Yeah.
It's weird. Because it's just like the way he was moving. As soon as he put the ball on the floor, you're bracing for the hit. All of a sudden, he's going by you. The helper can barely even like decide that, I need to rotate before he's already like putting up a shot at the rim. And it's like there were a few times where Sabonis did come in and provide some good help, went vertical. He just finishes.
Yeah.
Make it as hard as you can for the guy, and he still finishes. I don't know. I did not realize. I mean, like, I feel like you understand the lore of a guy. Like, drafted first overall, this promising mix of physical attributes. But when you just don't see him, you forget about it. And then you see it firsthand, and you're like, oh, crap. That guy is really good. And all of a sudden, you're like, well, if the Pelicans can get most of a full season out of him.
Yeah, I mean,
he's that much of a difference maker.
He's really good.
So
he can, I mean, he's been, I think he's like a 3-time All-Star or so in 4 years. Maybe even a 4-time All-Star.
That kind of seems like a sham, but
I mean, it is. It's like Yao Ming being an All-Star, playing 11 games like his last year.
Yeah.
But he's good. Kings have a lot to figure out tonight to stop him, or they'll be in, jeopardy of losing 2 straight.
Yeah. I mean, I think regardless, even if they don't really find a way to stop him or even slow him down, again, the Kings are going to come out and play a lot better.
Yeah. We said that against the Rockets. They hate back-to-backs.
True.
It's the same team.
It's the same team. So far this season, they're not doing too well in those situations.
Although the Rockets do seem legit.
Yeah.
Even though we should have never lost that bad. But you know what is something good to see, especially after that Rockets game kind of changing from, being all up on Zion. In that Rockets game when Sabonis put up 4 shots for 8 points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were talking on the podcast, like, he's a good scorer. Like, yeah, he's never thrown up like 25 in a season, but it's like I feel like you watch him And, like, he's really good in the post. Like, I feel like if Sabonis put more effort into his scoring than his passing, he could put up 25. And over the last few games, I mean, that's exactly what he's done.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And it's something I like to see. Is he shoots a very high percentage. I mean, his assists are still pretty high. I think
They've probably gone up, if anything.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah. And it's nice to see. It's like, I get it. Like, he did 19-12 and 7 last season, which is incredible. But I mean, I really want to see that guy do like 24, 12, and 6. Because he's such a good scorer.
I think he could get over 20 this season. He keeps it up.
I think he should.
Yeah.
I think realistically, Sabonis could get 25 a game. I think he's that good of a scorer down low. I don't know. Do you think I'm crazy? And his jump shot looks so much better, too.
I was going to bring that up. First of all, I was going to say the increased aggression is a lot like Fox, where it's just like, you need to be that guy because it opens up so many things for you. And in terms of Sabonis, like you said, it's like, well, he's got more shot attempts up and he's scoring a lot more over these last, 7 games now?
Yeah.
His assist numbers have gone up, if anything. I feel like in that Houston game, he was looking for assists. He only had 5, I think, in that second Houston game. And he's had like 2 triple-doubles. I think he's had almost 2 more in these last couple of games. And it's just like the way that opens things up for you. But we did talk about it at the beginning of the season. It's like, there are going to be times where he's going to have opportunities to shoot. He's got to be ready to do that. But it's like, I think there was one preseason game against the Warriors where he was really kind of flashing his jump shot.
Yeah.
I think he hit a fadeaway mid-range jumper against the Pelicans.
Yeah.
I think he hit a couple threes. Maybe I'm thinking of the Dallas game where he hit
No, I think it was against the Pelicans. He definitely hit, maybe it was Dallas. I don't know.
I think the threes I'm thinking of are from Dallas.
Yeah.
I think he definitely hit like a turnaround mid-range.
It was like very tough.
Beautiful shot. He nailed it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that actually really helps your cause because now you're not having to put it with a jump shot. You don't have to put in as much effort to create that look, especially if it's a 3-point shot where it's being generated. Where you're like, oh, I'm just out on the perimeter wide open. Beautiful. Yeah. And so it's like you're looking at scoring production increase without having to really increase your output of effort. So I think by saying Sabonis should average over 20, I think that's fair. I think he can. I think he definitely can get to 24 or 25 points, maybe in another season.
I mean, I don't think he's going to. I think he can if he tried. I'm not saying we need him to be there. Right. But I think he should be over 20 this year.
He's definitely capable.
Because I think the aggression, as we've seen, it's only yielding good results.
Yeah. And it's like, once you start talking about that, because, Sabonis was deserving of MVP votes last season. We talked about it. He's obviously going to be deserving of it this year because he's going to replicate, maybe even be a little bit better in terms of his stat line. And it's like, well, once you start talking about a 24, 25 point a game guy, 12 rebounds, 7+ assists, well, now Jokic is still probably a step up from you in a couple areas, but now you're really starting to talk about like not just a couple third place MVP votes. You're talking about a little bit more recognition there. That can really help him out, and it would also just kind of allow the league to be like, oh, he really is kind of the next best thing behind Jokic.
Yeah.
And
he got so much disrespect this offseason because of that stupid playoff series.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is tough, but I mean, hey, he's not, obviously hasn't scared him off. I didn't think it ever would.
No.
But it's, he's having the start of the season wasn't anything crazy, but the last 7 games, how did he do against New Orleans? I didn't really see the stat line.
I don't remember. I think he only had like 10, 11, and 8. Okay. So near triple-double, but it wasn't really. He missed a lot of shots.
Yeah.
Him and Fox missed a lot of looks.
That 6-game stretch, though, he was playing just as good, or not better than Fox. Fox got Player of the Week, deservedly. He was
terrific.
Terrific.
He was leading the league in scoring for a second there, wasn't he?
Yeah, for like a day.
Yeah.
After the
43-point performance versus, was that Dallas?
Yeah, that was, no, I think he had it after the Spurs game, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think he scored 43 against the Spurs. Or maybe, I'm getting so mixed up. It's that time of the year.
I'm getting mixed up, too.
Especially when the games, like, you have 4 in a week. You're like, what game is that?
Yeah. But I think he must have lost it last night.
Yeah, 14 points.
But I think he's still averaging 29.6.
Yeah, and he throws up another 40-point game. And then all of a sudden you're right up in there. Like, if he averages 30 points a game and was like a 6-assist guy with, whatever amount of rebounds, which are pretty solid from the guard position, I mean, he deserves to be right up in there. He's terrific. I mean, you see like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander get so much credit for being a 30-plus point scorer. And it's like, Fox does so much more on the defensive end. The team's better. They go further in terms of, I mean, OKC I think is like third in the conference right now or something.
Yeah,
like
they're doing well.
They're actually doing well. But just thinking about like SGA's last 2 seasons compared to that, I mean, like he gets MVP votes, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think he's a 30-plus point.
People talk about him like he's a top 10 player in the league.
And he's deserving of it.
He is really good.
He's really good. He's so hard to stay in front of. And I feel like he's a little different than some of those other guys where it's like, I don't feel like he's always looking for fouls. He obviously benefits a lot from getting to the free throw line, but a lot of 30-plus point per game guys do it that way because there's no way you're going to score 30 a night off of a low free throw clip. Yeah. Like, that's just not expected. But yeah, I mean, not to get too caught up on him, but it's just like Fox. Just constantly, the increased aggression from the beginning of the game, which we've seen basically since he's come back. And he noted that essentially in that final full game that he played before he got hurt, where it's like, I need to be more aggressive throughout the game and all that. We really see how that's making a difference. The defense has taken another step this season. And the three-point shooting.
Three-point shooting has been really good.
Which it's early. I wouldn't buy that he's going to be a 38% three-point shooter this season. I think he was at 34, 35% last season. Mm-hmm. But 36, 37%, I mean, that definitely helps the point totals. I mean, I don't think people are looking at your three-point percentage when it comes to MVP voting, but definitely helps that points total. And I don't know. I would put money on Fox winning MVP just to try it.
Yeah, I mean,
you might not win it, but top 3, I could see it.
I could too.
He's so good. And the way the Kings are playing, it's just like, if they can really continue what they were doing during that 6-game win streak, which I really kind of expect if they stay healthy, it's like, how do you deny Fox that? And the only reason that he was like off of lists is because he missed those 5 games, which was like half the season relative to the rest of the guys. Yeah. But it's like, he's been so good.
He's crazy.
He's ridiculous.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about him.
It is one of those
so
things
good.
Like, yeah, no, Fox is just tearing it up.
Yeah, scored 43. I mean, I'll put money on that he'll score 50 at least once this year. Yeah. He has to.
He'll probably have a couple 50-point games.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Especially the way the NBA scores nowadays.
Yeah. He can just turn it on, too.
He can. He scores so effortlessly. He's so good around the rim, too. Mm-hmm. It's like almost like amazing when he misses a layup. Like, what?
Yeah. His mix of speed, the ability to change his speeds, shift gears, and then you add that 3-point shot. It's just like, what do you do as a defender? Do I leave him wide open? Do I expect him to come at me full speed, but then he can slow down? That's like, I mean, obviously it's a little different with the physical specimen of a guy like Zion, but you start thinking about that and it's like, there's not a solution. It's like, you just have to hope he misses.
Yeah, at points.
Try to make him work. But he might be honestly one of the hardest guys to make work because it doesn't matter who you have on him. He's probably the hardest player to stay in front of. I mean, Zion is pretty good, but from the perimeter position, he's easily the fastest. He might be the fastest man on the planet. De'Aaron Fox.
He's incredible.
It just seems like the Kings, like you talk about like having multiple stars to win a championship. It's like, man, multiple MVP candidates.
Yeah, honestly. It's crazy. Good times in Sac. It feels nice. Everyone always asks me, because no one's as big as a Kings fan as I am. But, family.
No one in the world.
No one. At me. It's just, family or whoever, like casual fans, you talk to me. How are the Kings doing? It's like they're doing well. Mm. It's a nice change over the last 16 years, so to say. Because the Kings were the laughing stock of Sac.
You wouldn't believe it, but they're unrecognizable.
Who?
De'Aaron who? His name's De'Aaron.
Not Aaron, De'Aaron.
De'Aaron. I'm going to run some De'Aarons. I'm going to go out and run some De'Aarons real quick. I'll be gone for an hour. Yeah. But, regardless if the Kings are injured or not, I think one of the big topics over the last couple months, probably for the last year plus, is like, would the Kings be able to add a 3rd star was always kind of the common thing. And even with like Keegan Murray's emergence, the conversation about adding another star has been pretty big and Shams Charania on the Run It Back podcast with like Michelle Beadle and I think Chandler Parsons. Lou Williams.
Lou Thrilliams.
Fucking 6 man a year.
Like 3 times.
Yeah, fucking killer. He was talking about how the Kings are in the market for a star. And I think he mentioned Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, 2 very common names. And Zach LaVine, who's kind of the first name this season that seems to be totally out on his team. I think he had like some issue where he was going to get interviewed after a game and he brushed off the public relations person and didn't do it. So he seems totally out on Chicago completely. And I think a week ago he came out saying he wanted to play for the 76ers, Lakers, or Heat.
And he wouldn't mind playing for the Kings. That's why he would welcome joining Sacramento. Again, remember, as we all probably know, LaVine signed a contract with Sacramento as an RFA, and then that got matched by the Bulls.
Right.
So he stayed in Chicago because of it. So there's always kind of like, well, what if he comes back?
But
no, we're not. It just doesn't make sense. He's costs way too much. He won't fit the system. He's a great player. He's a multiple-time All-Star, but you just don't need him.
He's known as a ball chucker for a reason.
He's essentially, if you didn't have De'Aaron Fox, you would get LaVine. But LaVine and Fox would be fighting for the ball way too much. Probably what's going on in Chicago with LaVine and DeRozan. Mm-hmm. You don't need 2 ball chuckers. Yeah. You have your point guard in Sabonis. You need a scorer. You don't need 2 scorers. I mean, look what's happening in LA with Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. And Leonard, I'll give him more credit as a 2-way guy.
Yeah.
And same with George. But, I mean, they can all score 25 plus if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But share those points with the rest of the team too, with the Kevin Huerters of the world, and the Keegan Murrays.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like, can LaVine wait for shots to get generated for him?
No,
he's never done that. He's always gone out and got his own shot.
And why would you pay $40 million a year for that?
No, you wouldn't. It would screw up the complete cohesion of the offense and everything like that. I mean, you don't. That's the thing too. Is it's like the Kings aren't looking to necessarily bolster their offense. You know what I mean? And like LaVine is long and versatile in a way, but he'd screw with the offense and not help the defense that much, I feel like. It makes no sense to go after LaVine, and I would be surprised if the Kings were even really looking at him that seriously. It's like one of those things where even if you had the chance to get LaVine in like a straight swap for Barnes, which is obviously never going to happen, but I feel like if I were the Kings, I would want Barnes more than LaVine.
Yeah,
because
you need the role players.
Yeah.
You need role players. As much as, role players aren't, sexy, if that's the word. You want the star players. But it's like, you need the role players. I mean, Kyle Kuzma said that about the U.S. basketball team losing in the FIBA World Cup. It's like, yeah, they're not going to win because there's a bunch of stars on that team.
Yeah.
Like, you need role players to sit in the corner and shoot the ball. Because that helps out with the offense and gets your real star, good opportunities.
It's interesting coming from Kuzma.
Yeah,
Great point. I didn't hear that. But, and that, I mean, we'll get to the other 2 guys that Shams mentioned, but that's why I feel like if you're talking about any Chicago Bull to pursue, you got to pursue Alex
Lonzo
Caruso.
Ball.
When was the last time Lonzo Ball played?
I don't know. Remember it was like De'Aaron Fox or Lonzo. It's like a big deal.
Because like Lonzo got drafted before him?
Yeah, and Fox knocked out Lonzo in the Sweet 16.
Gotcha.
And they were like the 2... No, Fultz. Was Fultz a point guard? He was like the first... They were like... I don't know.
Like the 2 PGs.
Point guards, yeah. But yeah, Alex Caruso, man.
Because Alex Caruso, I mean, we're talking about... Like, last week we were like, well... Keon Ellis has minutes over Davion right now, which really set up a conversation for what's the future plans for the Kings. And, I mean, if you are going to go with Keon Ellis over Davion, that doesn't necessarily mean that Keon is going to hold the backup point guard role all season. Could you really expect him to? All these things. Well, let's say you wanted to move on from Davion and go with, and kind of think about Keon as that kind of future guy. Well, you wouldn't want to necessarily, if you're sacrificing the potential to have 2 guys battling it out for one spot where you have like the best at any given time doing it, you could have that stopgap guy, essentially, who would really be bolstering your roster. I think Caruso would be better than Davion or Keon at this very moment, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because Caruso is the most disruptive and active defender in the league. I think he leads the league in deflections like every season. He's a better playmaker than Davion. And he's a better three-point shooter than any of them. Yeah. And so, I mean, and you're talking about like, well, the Kings trading for a star or something like that. Yeah. If you're gonna go after anybody, it seems like you could expend a couple second-round picks just to get Caruso. I mean, they gave up 2 second-round picks to get Duarte. Yeah, you know, and it's just like Caruso's in his early 30s. I think is he at the end of his contract? Probably. Isn't he a little older?
I don't know.
I feel like we always get to this point.
Gotta look it up.
Is he? I thought he was 20.
Alex Caruso. He's in the league 6 years. He is.
Oh, then he's probably 28.
Yeah, he's 29. So, almost 30.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he was all defensive last year. I don't know, first or second team, sorry. But,
I feel like he's like one of those teams every year.
Yeah, no, he's a great defender. He's your 3-and-D guy. Yeah. He reminds me kind of a little bit of like a better Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
White guy. 6'4", 6'5".
Dog on defense.
Yeah, and you know, and is not a liability on offense.
No,
because it's like your defense is your bread and butter, but you can also play offense.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, Caruso would be great. I don't know. Let me look at his contract. But I have heard that the Bulls know his worth. Mm-hmm. So it's not. I don't think 2 second-rounders will get him. He does have a lot of interest around the league right now because he is an all-defensive player and not a liability on offense, which is important. He's got a partial guaranteed contract next year.
How much is he making?
$10 million a year. Well, close to it, like 9.5, 9.8, and 10 million, close to 10 next year. What's a partially guaranteed contract mean?
It means you have to like fulfill something to get the full worth of it. So I don't know exactly what it would be for him.
Anyways, I mean, he would be great.
Yeah.
$10 million, though, I mean, he's definitely a, pricier bench piece.
Yeah.
A top end guy.
Well, Davion's a first round pick, and so his contract goes up incrementally season by season, right?
That is true.
And he's making $8 million?
Probably
as a first rounder?
Yeah.
So it's not that much of a difference.
That's
the Kings have a little bit of cap space to play with.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you switch up Davion on him, I mean, it would clear up.
Yeah. And
they'd probably do it straight up. I mean, money-wise.
I think that'd be an upgrade. Like, big time.
Oh, it would be
not even just upgrade. For now. I feel like
Caruso would be... I mean, that's what the Kings need. I mean, I think of what every team needs. You need 2 stars. Kings got that.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the guys, 3-and-D guys. Uh-huh. And maybe a Keegan Murray, or like, everyone calls it like the Aaron Gordon right now. 3-and-D, but can actually do a little more on offense too. Yeah. To like, he's kind of a 3rd star.
Yeah.
But like a guy who knows his role. I mean, the Kings, I think that's all they need. If Keegan Murray can develop into that Aaron Gordon, that 3rd star, but still like let Fox and Sabonis run the show. Look what the Nuggets did last year.
Yeah.
I mean, who was Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray?
Yeah.
Are they second and third?
I mean, Jamal Murray played really well.
I mean, Jamal Murray's a really good player. And Michael Porter Jr. is great too.
Yeah.
But I mean, so is Kevin Huerter.
Yeah.
So is De'Aaron Fox. So is Sabonis. So is Keegan Murray. It's getting to that point.
Yeah.
You just get 3-and-D guys. You don't need Levine. You don't even need Siakam.
Yeah.
OG Anunoby. Again, I see him more as a 3-and-D guy than a star.
Yeah. Obviously, probably the best example of a 3-and-D guy you can come up with.
Yeah, exactly.
But in terms of Caruso, too, it's like the other thing is, you talk about the energy off the bench is one of the biggest keys to anybody's bench. And you see energy from Monk, and you see energy even from Duarte. But it's like, at the backup point guard position, I mean, like, Keon Ellis brings energy, but like, young player, inexperienced, how much are you going to get out of it? How consistent is it going to be? Caruso, night in and night out, would be another energy guy. Mm-hmm. And it would be if you have 3 good bench pieces that come off and give you some great energy, and even like Alex Len and JaVale McGee can come out and bring energy, hit or miss and depending on their impact. But it's like, you're really, really raising the electricity off the bench.
Man, imagine that bench. Caruso, Malik, and Trey Lyles.
Yeah.
Off the bench.
Can't forget Lyles. Lyles is a form of energy in his own because he's just so versatile and consistent.
Yeah.
He just goes out there and makes an instant impact in some manner. Yeah, that's a really good bench.
That would be a crazy bench. I mean, like we said, 3-and-D. The Kings and Monty. I'm going to call him Monty again. No, Monte. Oh, my God.
Monte was balling out.
Now I'm calling him the right name. Yeah, Monty. Yeah, Monty. He's not going to go all out.
Right.
He's not going to make a move that's not going to benefit the team. He's not going to go for a Levine or a Siakam. He's going to go for a guy that fits the team's mold right now. And Caruso, flashing red lights around his name, him and Anunoby.
Yeah.
There's probably other guys that probably aren't as big as names that are on the market or could be, but
yeah,
that bench, that'd be really fun.
That'd be great. And it's far more realistic than going after an Anunoby because,
true,
as we'll get to, it's just like, that's a big name and from a franchise that has a reputation that's a little harder to pull things away from in terms of high asking value and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Caruso's getting far more attention than Levine is, apparently. In terms of sheer volume of teams calling about him. But that makes sense.
Yeah. He's cheaper, too. Levine's contract's crazy, too.
Yeah. Makes a lot.
What if the Bulls are... I doubt it. But what if they say first rounder? You're not giving up a first rounder
for Caruso? Yeah, no chance. That's why I was thinking 3 seconds, maybe 2 in Davion.
Clutch Points is saying the Bulls have to land a first round pick for Caruso. And the problem too with Caruso, a first round pick is excessive, and I don't think the Kings should do that. But they're saying that the bidding war is going to be large, and so the highest bidder wins.
Someone will throw in a first round pick.
I think so.
Somebody will freaking do it.
The Kings, I don't think Caruso's the guy to throw a first round pick at, or an intriguing young player. Does Davion fit that?
I think he's an intriguing young player, but I don't know. That's the
Does
thing.
Does Jalen Slauson fit it?
Colby Jones. No.
I like this. People also ask, is Alex Caruso still in the NBA?
Is Dante Exum still in the NBA?
Alex Caruso could fetch a similar trade return as Drew Holiday? Where? When?
Yeah, now you're talking about desperation. Because didn't Drew Holiday get moved for a couple firsts?
I honestly don't know what he got moved for.
I don't even know how Boston...
He got moved for Damian Lillard. Oh, because he went to Boston.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question.
But anyways, the point of this is...
his salary is very friendly.
Caruso's?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely something you can squeeze in. Exclude the bidding war that'll probably ensue with it. That'll probably drive up his value. The Kings could find a way to get him. He seems like not only just the perfect fit, but kind of a feasible option to actually pull off.
Mm-hmm.
But then that bidding war comes in and it gets a little difficult. But Caruso, if you're going to go after a Bull, not named Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen, go after Caruso. I don't know.
Yeah.
He would be a good option. Shams was talking about the Kings having all these assets. They have all 5 of their first-round picks between 2025 and 2030. They have 10 first-round picks between 2024 and 2026. You think about all the assets Monty McNair did. He could have had Colby Jones at, pick 34, and he got him at pick 38, or maybe it was something similar to that, and he got a second or 2 by moving back a few spots. He's always trying to get second-round picks and accumulating assets. And the Kings are a talented team that are definitely in the market for a big player. You obviously mentioned Siakam and Levine, but, we mentioned Levine. He's a ball checker and whatnot. Really doesn't seem to fit the flow of the offense, and you wouldn't really be adding a lot by getting him, honestly, based on the makeup of the team as the Kings stand right now. Siakam's kind of redundant. He's also 29 and not a great three-point shooter. Would he average 7 assists with the Kings? No. Not with Sabonis and Fox and Monk there. So that doesn't make any sense. But OG Anunoby, our old friend.
Talked
about him a lot this offseason, talked about it a lot last season. I feel like he was probably talked about a lot even before then. But, man, if you could get OG Anunoby, that would be crazy. And first of all, just think about it. Keegan Murray emerging as a defender. OG Anunoby in the same starting lineup. Oh my goodness. Perimeter offensive players would be terrified. Not terrified, but they definitely have their work cut out for them against the Kings.
Yeah.
And Anunoby, we were talking about him being a 3-and-D guy. I mean, he is the epitome of perfect 3-and-D guy. Consistent 38, 39% three-point shooter. One of the most disruptive and strong defenders and versatile. I mean, and I think he's only 24, 25. Fits right in. You'd have him, if you lock him up, which you would do if you traded for him. Oh, man. Fox, Sabonis, Murray, Anunoby. That's a pretty good core.
That would be insane. I mean, I think that would, right away make the Kings a contender. A legit, top 5 contender.
Yeah.
'Cause he would be the Aaron Gordon. I mentioned already, and I've seen thrown around. It's Aaron Gordon. But, yeah. And, we were talking about earlier, because the Kings, this report came out from Shams, and it's the Kings are going to be a major player for any star player available. And, OG and Pascal, they've been floating on the market for 3 years now. At least Pascal, OG maybe not as long, but still, we've been talking about him forever. But then in that podcast with Lou Williams, he's he was dogging on Sacramento.
Yeah, he's cities matter. You're not going to pull people in from whatchamacallit.
Exactly. And, I think people, disrespect Sacramento. I think people have good points about how people come to Sacramento and stay here and, they raise their families here. And I think that maybe that's an important part, and we were talking about this before the podcast, why they should trade for him now. I don't think he's a free agent next year. I think he has a player option, which will probably decline because he's going to make a lot of money. But wouldn't you rather bring him over to Sac this season, get him, show him the fans, show him the culture we're building. It's better having him here now and showing him what Sacramento is and the team, rather than try to get him in a bidding war in free agency. Because that's when the LAs win. That's when the Miamis win.
Yeah. Lou Williams, it was interesting. He was totally ignoring what Shams was saying, because Shams was just saying that the Kings have the ability to trade for guys, and he went to free agency. But that just totally underlined the fact that the Kings have built their success mostly off of trades. They obviously drafted Fox, and they drafted Murray too, but they traded for Sabonis. They
traded for Weber.
Yeah, think about all that. That's
traded for Richmond.
That's the nature of the Kings. They traded for Bibby.
Traded for Bibby.
That's just the way the Kings have to
traded
build.
For Rudy Gay.
Yeah, traded for Harrison Barnes.
Traded for Barnes. We can say it. Whether it's a dig or not, it's not a lot of big free agent names. It's traded for Kevin Huerter.
Yeah.
But it was they signed Malik Monk as a good pickup. But over the last, 20 years, who you signed Vlade? And that was over 20 years ago now.
The only people they sign are people they have to overpay, like Dwayne Dedmon.
Yeah. Or guys who don't want it or aren't welcome anywhere on the league.
Yeah. Or they just
Rajon
want
Rondo.
That stopgap year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost... I didn't actually find much wrong with Lou Williams' statement, other than the fact that it didn't really have to do with what Shams was saying. But it's a good point. It just underlines the fact that that's how the Kings have to build. That's how they've always built success, when they have built success. So that raises the point. It's if you're going to get Anunoby, you got to trade for him in January or February, because you're not going to get him during the summer.
Yeah. And it is... And OG's that guy. He's the guy who's going to fit in with his team perfectly. And
that's such an important point, because it's not just that would be a big acquisition, but it's not a big acquisition in the way of someone getting Levine. You're getting a guy that's literally coming in. He's got the tools to help anybody, but specifically the Sacramento team. Be a role player on offense. Let as Katie Christensen rightly calls it all the time, the equal opportunity offense produce shots for you. He's not going to lose offensive production probably. It's probably going to be about the same. He's going to be efficient. And he's going to be the best defender on the team.
Yeah. On
a team that's ascending defensively, at least for now. But that would just be insane.
That's a good point. It's you're either getting OG in February or you're not getting them ever. Yeah.
That's it.
That is crazy to think about. Yeah. And there are players like him, but not available in trade talks.
Yeah. And it's like we talked about like Monty McNair not going over like just not like overshooting to get a guy, not like blowing up things to try to get a guy. And we were talking about that with Caruso. It's like, should they give up a first round pick? No. If someone's giving up a first round pick, let that be their issue. Mm-hmm. Like McNair's not going to do that. But Anunoby, I mean, if like
he's a guy that can propel this team.
3 first round picks and Davion Mitchell, which they take that? I think they would. I would hope they would.
Yeah.
And I think that the Kings, I think that would be worth doing. Because can you give up 3 first round? You can't give up 20, 20.
You can give 26, 28, 30.
And 30, yeah. Beautiful. And then Davion Mitchell. And I'm sure Darko R, because I don't know what his last name is, the head coach in Toronto, would love a guy like Davion Mitchell. In terms of like building a defensive and athletic young culture there. I mean, I don't know, would they?
I don't know. From what I was reading, I don't honestly. I mean, I'm a Kings fan. I pay attention to the league as much as I can. I don't really know what's going on in Toronto too much. I was reading some of their social media. It seems like their primary focus is to build around Scotty Barnes.
That makes sense.
Which is kind of, yeah. But it is interesting because they have like Scotty Barnes, they have Pascal, they got an OG Anunoby.
Yeah.
And it's like, dang, should be a really good team.
They have Podol in the middle.
Yeah, it's like, anyways. So I think they're looking for young pieces. I mean, that's why, I mean, they want Murray so badly.
Yeah.
And it's hard having Murray, I feel like, for that reason. I mean, it's not hard having him, but it's like, well, yeah, Murray. Like, you either give us Murray or you don't get him.
Yeah. It's tough. It's like, I don't know. It's just, it's a luxury that all of a sudden becomes a burden. It's like having too much money. It's like you have to buy your girlfriend everything or something like that. Yeah. Maybe that's a bad example, but
you had to pay more taxes.
So, yeah, it's a little bit like that. I mean, like, there are burdens with luxuries. And, yeah, that is a good point. And the reputation of Toronto wanting a lot, that could become an issue. So, like, if we're talking about McNair maybe going a little bit bigger swing for the fences, that cannot include Murray. And I don't think he would do that. But that might make it impossible. Because just having him, they're going to go, we could have Murray. It's Murray or nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're just like, all right, you can only have him if we get Murray.
Yeah, but how much can you play hardball when you're like, oh, you get 3 first round picks?
That's true.
But that would, I mean, that would only happen if they couldn't get an offer they want from another team, which would be multiple firsts and a really good Keegan Murray type prospect, I guess.
But like I said, I don't know if this is what the front office is thinking or just Raptors fans, but it's from what I read online by fans.
Reddit.
Yeah.
The worst website in the world.
It sounds like they're still, yeah, right. But, I mean, it sounds like they got Scotty Barnes and they want to. It sounds like they want to be on Scotty Barnes' timeline, or you're just wasting Scotty Barnes.
Yeah,
and Scotty Barnes is a really good player,
very good. He's like a little Siakam,
and so it's like 3 first rounds, great, and maybe that's good for other draft capital going forward, which it is. But still, when they see Murray, I mean, he'd fit Barnes' timeline perfectly. They're probably about the same age.
Yeah, that's difficult.
We'll see, though. I mean, 3 first rounders, though, would still be great.
And that's got to start some kind of a conversation.
Yeah.
And Sharon, you pointed it out. I mean, the Kings have a ton of assets, and you have to give McNair credit for that.
And OG's always getting linked back to the Kings. And I think Damian Barling, who I don't know who his sources are specifically, I mean, he said that the Kings are going to aggressively pursue OG. Granted, this was during the summer before the season started, but who's to say that ever stopped just because we didn't get him before the season began?
Clearly, their evaluation and valuation of OG Anunoby is quite high. Yeah. They clearly see him as being a huge difference maker. Mm-hmm. And, like, even chumps like us can see that. Mm-hmm.
And I don't watch OG Anunoby until he plays the Kings, too.
Yeah. But, I mean, you see it.
Yeah.
I mean, he leads the league. Didn't he lead the league in steals the last 2 seasons?
I think just last year.
I mean, he's just so good. He's terrific. I mean, we'll have to see. We'll have to see with OG Anunoby. But, Kings injuries, this isn't really a topic, but I was kind of thinking about it. I was like, well, if the Kings really run into some energy issues and need somebody to come in and play, like, are they going to call Terrence Davis or Jeremy Lamb?
Is Jeremy Lamb on the G League team?
Is he? I don't know.
I want to say he might be. I want to say I was like looking because I follow the Stockton Kings on Instagram, and I'm like, is that Jeremy Lamb?
Yeah, because sometimes there's a lot of Stockton Kings news that gets swept under the rug. At least for me.
Yeah.
He's with the team?
Wait, no. This is Indiana Pacers, but I don't believe that.
I was going to say, if he is in the G League, I mean, that's a nice pipeline for him to become a coach.
That is true.
Because he's not down there to develop.
Yeah, he's on Stockton.
Okay.
He's on the Stockton Kings.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jeremy Lamb as on the coaching staff in Stockton and maybe moving his way up to Sacramento. But would the Kings call Terrence Davis, who's still not with the team?
I know.
Which really makes me feel bad, but he seems good enough to be on the team. I wonder what his issue in the offseason was.
At some point, you just got to sign, right?
You'd think.
I mean, that's your livelihood.
You'd think, but it's not promising for guys that if you're making it this far without being on a team. Nobody wants to bring you in.
No, not this
They'd have
late.
To be desperate. Maybe the Lakers last season would do it, at this time.
Yeah.
When the Lakers were looking for something before they did all their great trade deadline moves. TD,
I mean, yeah. Enough injuries happen, right?
Call TD up.
Yeah, TD, come on. I mean,
he's like, I got to have my number 3.
It's like, because I'm a Rams fan, it's like Kyron Williams went out, our running back. Yeah. It's like Darrell Henderson, who was the running back last year, but he hasn't been on a team all year. No one signed him. Like, hey, you want a chance until Kyron comes back?
That's the funniest thing about football. It's
and they just cut him today because Kyron's coming back on Sunday.
It's like when the 49ers brought in Tevin Coleman last season for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had him on your fantasy team. I'm like, yeah, start.
And it might be Kieran Williams. I don't know how to pronounce it.
But yeah, football's a little different because these guys know your scheme. It was so funny, just speaking of Tevin Coleman, it's clearly Kyle Shanahan loved Tevin Coleman, and Mike McDaniel, the offensive coordinator at the time, who's now the head coach of Miami, loved Mostert.
Yeah, that is true.
Clearly Raheem Mostert was the best. Arguably one of the fastest running backs in the league.
Yeah.
And now Raheem Mostert's in Miami. And Tevin Coleman's on the couch.
It is funny how that works.
He's a little older, but yeah. I don't know. But we got another 3 games before our next podcast.
So we got tonight against the Pelicans, Friday against
Minnesota. Oh, just 2. Just 2 games, right?
Yeah, just 2 games.
Because we'll be back at the top of next week, just before they play a back-to-back at home. Golden State, and is it the Lakers again?
I don't
remember what that is. And then they play Denver on Saturday, and then it's the tournament week.
Yeah.
Which the Kings are 2-0 in the group play. And
wait, when are our last 2 games? Because they're Tuesdays. Oh, they're Tuesdays, Fridays, huh?
Yeah.
So it'd be Friday against Minnesota
and then Golden State on
Golden
Tuesday.
State. Okay, you just said that. Let's win it. Let's win the damn thing. I mean, we make fun of it so much, but I'll be upset if I'm not gonna be that upset, but I'm gonna be rooting for them to win it.
Yeah.
What else is there to do?
It's like we said when this thing got announced. It's it seems so weird now, but it's just gonna be like the play-in tournament or anything else. We're gonna get used to it. We're probably even gonna like it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give it credit to this. It's like watching that Spurs game or that OKC game. I'm like, all right. It means a little more.
It did, yeah. Which is all that matters. If it means something to the players, then it's going to mean something to the fans.
Yeah, and so it's like, all right, I want them to win this.
Yeah, the level of play was definitely elevated.
And let me tell you, it feels good being 2-0.
2-0, baby. But with the Kings' injury chances, does it hurt their chance at the NBA Cup?
The Minnesota, I don't know how they're doing right now. I know they started off pretty well.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's 3-0 in the group stage. Maybe 2-0. I think they're 3-0.
Could be.
Yeah.
Warriors are 1-2, I think.
Warriors got some issues.
Oh!
Golden State's got some issues. It's kind of fun living in the Bay Area and just being people just cursing out. What the hell? Why'd they draft this white kid?
Podziemski. That's that pod.
Yeah, it was such an interesting pick. It was him and Jaquez going to Miami. 2021 in the draft. I was like, what? I remember watching that. I'm like, huh? Everybody's like, what a great pick for Miami. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you fucking mean? That makes no sense to me. Jaquez is an early 2nd round pick. Whatever. I don't know.
I think he's doing pretty good though, right?
Is he? I have no idea. When do the Kings play the Heat?
I
feel like it's hard for me to even pay attention to other teams when you're focusing so much on the Kings. But it's like, okay, you kind of pay attention to the Western Conference. But the Eastern Conference, that's like going on another planet in my mind. Like, I have no idea what's going on.
He's averaging almost 10 points a game.
Is he in the rotation? Yeah. How many minutes is he getting a game?
Where is Basketball Reference? I hate when Basketball Reference, like, it should be like a top 2 Google search.
It should be like up there when they have it with like the Wikipedia little thing on Google. That should be right next to it.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
Yeah.
He's averaging 25 minutes a game.
Oh, good for him.
Every game. Yeah. I wanted the Kings to. I was hoping he'd follow the Kings.
If they could have gotten him with that second round pick that they eventually moved back and got Colby Jones with, that would have been great.
Yeah. He kind of just does it all.
And thinking about it, I'd probably rather have Jaquez than Jones.
I mean, I think everyone would.
Yeah.
No offense, Colby.
I think Jaquez was always higher on draft boards too, but they were both around that late first, early second range. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Colby Jones.
Well, I think that's it. We get 2 games till we talk next. I mean, I guess I don't have to preface that Warriors game, so we'll talk about it on the next podcast.
That'll be fun.
But yeah, Draymond returns from suspension. Anyways, that'll be the last tournament game too. That'll be fun to watch. But we still got another podcast to go before that one. Kings play 2 more. But yeah, John, anything else?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, everyone, have a good Thanksgiving. Stay safe out there. And thank you for tuning in.
Wait a second. If you guys are listening right now and you made it all the way through the podcast, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and comment. What should they comment?
Why don't you go comment, Happy Thanksgiving, Tony and John. Wish us Happy Thanksgiving, and you can get 50% off a shirt in the Cap City Crown store.
First one to do it. Only one of you gets it. But still, if you're going to wish us Happy Thanksgiving, that'd be great. It'd really be a nice boost to our morale. We don't have any families. We're going to be spending Thanksgiving with nobody. So, if you want to send a turkey, some money.
Yeah.
A nice blanket for the cold.
Yeah. It'd be great.
But yeah, first one to do it, you get a little treat there. So go ahead and do it. Take a look at the shop.
I'll link it for you. I'll do as much as I can.
Freaking let us know. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Thank you for tuning in, as always. Until next time, have a good one.